Hey, it's me. Obviously, you clicked on my channel, but I thought I'd better make a video because I haven't made one in a while, basically. I normally don't have this much trouble coming up with content, but because of the last couple of videos concerning the Israeli Gaza situation, it's been a little hard to concentrate on other less serious situations. And I have been, I don't know about busy. I keep saying I'm busy to make videos, but I've been doing a lot of rehearsals and what have you for a musical project in February. I thought I'd just get a couple of the big ones out the way with now. They're not even that big, which is why I wasn't really concerned about making a video about them, but they seem mildly relevant, and I did have some thoughts on them. I've always tried to approach these things, as I've said before. It's not so much that I tell you what I think and what you should think and rah 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 answers per se, but more what I try and ask myself when I approach a situation. And with any luck, questions like that might lead others to answers. So we'll get the first one out the way with this Harry and Meghan thing, this new book Endgame. I've very little truck with what Harry and Meghan have been up to lately. I didn't watch the Oprah interview because I found it physically uncomfortable. I saw a couple of little clips about like the saying that the royals were discussing the color of the baby and that, and it. I found them very carefully worded, but of course I don't know. But this Meghan Markle, from my very limited experience, just I don't know. She makes me dislike her, but I'm well aware that I might be prejudiced by the opinions of others that I respect that dislike her. Harry, I've always liked. Harry's always been popular. It's interesting that when he got up to all the shenanigans, when he was like playing pool naked in Vegas and turning up to parties dressed as a German World War II officer, it actually, at the time, I was working with in the same place but in a different section of that place, and it was more of a blue collar vibe, if you like. And we all thought it was hilarious. We thought he's acting like a young lad. It's just there's a camera following him everywhere, and we were greatly endeared to Harry at the time. This has diminished somewhat now, but I I still think I've got a lot of time for Harry. I don't know what he's up to these days. I'm assuming he's back in some noble causes. He's in, is it the Invictus Games? He's probably still doing that. Um, I don't know what it's like to be a royal. I don't know if I want to know what it's like. It can't be easy. Everybody sees the money, but they don't see what's behind the money. I mean, everybody looks at Elon Musk's bank account, but they don't look at his schedule. Do you know what I mean? Irregardless if he lets his mouth go. So I have to say, with all that's happened with this book, and I, I think the best person to look to that is the black belt barrister. He seems to be the only one who's covering it in my little corner of YouTube, purely because he's interested in legal things, and there will be some legal stuff behind this. I think there already is. So to me, it just smacks of a lot of free publicity. I don't know if the author did it. I don't know if Meghan or Harry said, if you do this, maybe it'll just, get in the papers and that. I personally have washed my hands of them. I hadn't heard of this book before the stink about this book, so I think that's a lot to do with it. And I am not buying any book where its main attraction is to air dirty laundries, excuse me, with your family. And I'm the first one to admit my close family and me. I did add to the whatever difficulties there have been in families. Oh God, the cat's here. I forgot about that. Let's go quickly, shall we? But yeah, I don't sit here and call the people in my family I've had some history with worse than shit. And we have been making some inroads into sorting it out in recent years. And that's all I'll say on that. The other one was this Doctor Who thing. And the short answer is I don't care what they put on Doctor Who because I don't watch Doctor Who. Nor have I watched Doctor Who for many moons. Indeed, many seasons. So I only found out what was going on about it through the Critical Drinker and Clownfish TV, which I watch very occasionally, just to keep my finger on the pulse. It's not so much that I feel I've got any, well, I don't have any sort of control over what people produce in media or entertainment, but it's always a good gauge of what they think people want and how far they get it off the mark. Now, I am privileged to hang around with a lot of normal people, and there's not many of them approving of pandering. That being said, I don't know many disabled people at the minute. This isn't a choice of mine. I just don't. I know very few people other than the people I work with and some old friends. And I do know a couple of transsexuals. The last thing I'm going to bring up with them is what they think of Doctor Who. I can probably guess that out of my friends, I would say, or the people I have reasonably close contact with, I would say more than 90% wouldn't care for what Doctor Who's doing at the minute, and perhaps 2 or 3 would think it's a good idea. But that might be my group of friends. For my own sake, well, the thing behind it is I was toying with, over a year ago, when I was toying with starting this YouTube channel, just to sit here and think and try and be nuanced and try and approach a current event or a current social change impartially. One of the things that got me is Doctor Who, that Jodie Whittaker. Oh, it'll be more than over a year ago now, because well, anyway, suffice to say, Jodie Whittaker got the role, and I was sitting there, and on no logical level could I decide why I gave a shit, because it didn't particularly fly in the face of the Doctor Who lore, because I do like reading up on the lore and stuff. I do that with things I don't even watch. That bloody cat better stay still. I do like to read up about lore, because I do like to make lore for a few little projects I have of my own. But there was nothing on the surface that should have raised, set off alarm bells with me, but something did set off an alarm bell with me. And I think I explained this in my very first video. The fact of the matter is, it's not so much what they were doing, it's the way they were doing it. It was how they were presenting it. It was it was very forceful. It was very threatening. It was very, you agree with us or we're going to drag your name through every pile of shit in this field. And that is what rankled me about it a little bit, because I made some comment as to I don't know why this feels off to me, but it feels off to me. And this lady came back and she was sarcastic, she was scornful, and I was like, that's what's got me. That's what's got me. It's because people go on like that. They don't try and have a conversation with you. They try and make the conversation to discredit it, even though that wasn't a conversation to discredit it, to try and make it as unpalatable as possible because you just want to get away from these people. You just want to agree and run off, or disagree and run off, or just run off, or you. And this conflict hunting seems to have like endured. When the first thing I can think of back in the day, which was anything like this, was like when Avery Brooks got the role as Benjamin Sisko in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And I always bring it back to this because for years, until somebody mentioned it, like it would be in the 2010s. And you've got to bear in mind that this Avery Brooks played Sisko from 93 to 97, so we're talking like nearly 2 decades after the event, when somebody was saying, well, how did you feel about being the first black starship captain? And he was like, well, yeah. And I was like, well, Jesus Christ, I didn't even know it was a thing. I just thought they found an actor and gave him the role. I to this day I haven't checked. I don't know if they gave him the role because he was black. I hope they didn't. He was just a good actor to me at the time. If they kept doing that, it would have, nobody would have give a shit. But then you've got the likes of that new lassie who played Michael Burnham, and she's full of, oh, it's very important that a black woman is in this role because rah 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 rah, and you're like, okay, right. And now we can sort of compare this to Michelle Nichols, who played Uhura in the first season of Star Trek, and it was apparently the first time that a black lady had a starring role or a main role on television. And I did hear a story, I can't confirm it, but I did actually hear a story that when she turned up for work one day, the security guard sent her around the back because of her colour. And when she got into the set, Nimoy caught wind of it, and he went straight round to the security guard and said, she comes through the front, mate, she's an actress. And you can't really say anything about that because that was an important thing. Blank Steve, you knock that over, there'll be war on. So yeah, you do need to put some, thought into these rules, and I think you would have to be the greatest bigot on the planet not to want, people of colour or minorities to have more. What's the word? More. Sorry, I'm getting distracted because I think the cat's gonna turf something over. Go on, man, with you. Go on with you. You silly sod, you. To have more. Oh, for fuck's sake, that word's gone. I might have to cut this bit out. Opportunities. There we go. To have more opportunities in this kind of work, and then. But then they just attach so much shit to a good idea. It's like you like a beef sandwich, but by the time they've brought it out, they've put gherkins and salad cream, and they've just piled everything they found on the fridge, and there was this slice of beef, and they said, there's your sandwich. And you're just like, well, I didn't want that, I wanted a beef sandwich. I do like gherkins and mayonnaise, by the way, and salad cream. And it's just... Do you know that thing where somebody says you've got to do something and you were going to do it, but then all of a sudden you don't? There was a BoJack Horseman thing about that when he found muffins and he wasn't going to buy them, but then somebody told him to give him the muffins, and all of a sudden he didn't want to give him the muffins because the bloke had been rude and he just wanted to keep the muffins. And it's a bit like that. I feel like I wasn't going to eat the muffins, but now somebody's told us I can't. I want to. Or rather, I was going to eat them, and then somebody's told us I must, but now I must not. and it gets to the point where there's a lot of hypocrisy involved. They'll say, they'll say it's important that black people get these rules that white people were in, and you think, all right, fair enough, and then they'll, I think in Doctor Who they had Isaac Newton as an Asian fella. Just got an Asian actor in again. But then they say, yeah, but it doesn't really matter because a lot of other people were doing stuff that they never did in history on Doctor Who. But then they'll complain. They'll complain if like they come. But then they'll have a website like saying like how dare white people represent like Egyptians and the gods of Egypt. Why did they do that? It's just hypocrisy. And yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. Get Egyptian actors in for the gods of Egypt. Apologise and say, yeah, we're wrong. We'll not do it again. Next time we'll get a load of Egyptian actors in. Don't say, well, since you've done it, we're going to do it, and we're going to come up with a whole different line of excuses to do it, and you better like it, otherwise we'll call you a whole different line of names, and then we'll try and ruin you, and then we'll try and ruin your job. It's people are starting a war over these things, and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. People are starting a war, and they're like, people are literally getting into bother over their opinion of a film, which is ridiculous. And that's all I've got to say on that. I will get a proper video out soon. I have started the script and the editing for one. I do apologise again. I shouldn't be so sensitive to these other issues. It doesn't really involve us. I don't know why it hit me that hard, other than like it was. I refer to the Israeli thing again. Other than I have actually been to that part of the world, and it's very difficult to put it from my mind. But I have got a few things I can focus on, and this video has run long enough, and it's nothing but me talking shit. So I will bid you good evening.